Oh, I didn't see you guys there, my bad. Just putting this bike through its test and see how good it is for you guys. We got a nice suspension seat post on here, so I'm trying to mess with it right now. But let's get into it and talk about this bike we have right in front of us today. This is not a sponsor of the video right here, but man, you don't know how many takes I did to get that right. But anyways, let's get into the video. So this bike is a DYU King 750. The 750 stands for a 750 watt rear hub motor in the back. So this bike is gonna be legal everywhere that class 3 e-bikes are allowed. This goes up to 28 miles per hour. Some of the best cool features of this bike that you guys will probably not even notice right off the bat. First off, maybe you noticed one of them. This battery right here, it's a 48 volt system. 20 amp hour battery in this frame right here. So that is nice. This is gonna give you a ton of range. And then also when I bring you up in here with a camera, this display right here is one of the nicest displays I've seen. Most of these companies are using the exact same display on every single e-bike out there. This one has a very nice display that's very different. I have not seen it on any other bike. Another cool feature is you're gonna notice it does have front suspension, but there's no rear suspension. But the company added a adjustable seat post right here. So you do have suspension right here. Now there is one con to that, and that's the fact that this is the lowest that this seat can go. So that's why I was sitting on the bike earlier. I'll do it again real quick, and you guys can see how I fit on the bike. I'm 5'10" roughly, and 160 pounds. And I do have to kind of tippy toe it a little bit, if you guys can see my feet down there. And it's not too bad though. I do wish the seat can go a little bit lower. But anyways, let's bring you in here with a camera instead of talking so much, and let's kind of go over this bike in detail. All right, so the first thing I want to show you on this bike is grab your keys. They're going to be on the handlebars up here, so just get a zip tie cutter, cut that off, and drop the battery. Just turn it to the unlock position. It pops out, but it won't completely fall out because there is a second latch right here. So you take that other latch out, then it will fall out. Definitely be careful because this tire is very close to the frame when the battery is releasing, so it is a little bit of a tight fit, I would say. Take the battery out just like that. Very nice, big, beefy battery. You do have a little indicator right here that tells you how charged it is, just in case you have it in your house and you don't know what the charge is. This is also the specs on this, if you guys want to read that. And then putting this battery back in is pretty easy. You just gotta get it lined up in here. Again, tight fit. Do not get your headlight wire stuck in there. Get it over that little ridge down there, push it up, and you're good to go. All right, so now let's start off in the back of the bike. So obviously, no rear fender, no rear rack on this bike. You have your Shimano derailleur down here. It's a Journey 7-speed right down there with the 750 watt rear hub motor. Now you guys can add a rack back here because you do have some screws right there, and you also have some holes right here that you guys can mount something up. So you guys can find something out there and do something with it. Another thing is, we talked about the seat real quick. The only thing I noticed about the seat is, since this is a suspension post seat, this does have a little bit of movement side to side, like a little bit of play, but it hasn't been too bad that I noticed. It just sucks that you can't lower it any lower than that. So if you're a very short person, you might have to look elsewhere on buying a bike. Moving on down here, we have a 46.2 sprocket. Now it's not some of the other bikes that I've seen have a 54 on there. So we're gonna see how it is when we pedal this bike, see if it's ghost pedaling or not after a certain mile per hour. And then kind of moving over here, obviously you have the nice frame with the nice little logo. You have another port right here on this side. So if you do wanna charge the bike with the battery in it, that's where the plug lines up to. I do like this because it is waterproof, so nothing's gonna get in there. Moving on to the front right here, you do have a lockout on this side if you don't want the suspension to have any type of travel and not move. You also have a nice preload adjustment over here, which I had to move it a little tiny bit for me being at 160 pounds. I barely did like maybe half a turn. It feels pretty good. You do have a decent amount of travel, but you don't have a ton of travel, so don't expect to be taking this thing off of like really big jumps. You also have a nice decent headlight right here. We'll turn off the lights in a second and check it out. And then up here, let's talk about all this stuff. So now that we're sitting on the bike, the main thing I wanted to show you guys was this nice display right here. This thing is awesome. Now the power button is right in the middle right here. It takes a little bit for it to turn on. Once it turns on, you're gonna see all the custom little things it tells you right here, like the battery indicator, you got the power on the left side, you got your trip and odometer, you also have the mode that you're in, and I believe this bike only goes up to number 3. Yeah, so it doesn't go up to 5 like most bikes. Maybe in the settings you can change that. Our bike also came at miles per hour on this side for the speed, but you guys can change that by getting into the P settings by holding these 2 buttons. Then you guys can do whatever the heck you want in here. So to skip to the next one, you just got to keep hitting the power button, and you can go through all that. P number 2, that's the one that's gonna change your mile per hour. You just put it to 0, 0 instead of 0, 1. And then to get back out, you just hold those 2 buttons back and forth, and then you're good to go. So now that we got the display out of the way, let's talk about these locking grips. They're made for your palm. Normally I would hate these things, but with the bars being no rise to them whatsoever, they're completely flat. Most of your body weight is going to be leaned on the front bar, so I think that's acceptable for this bike. You also have the buttons right here, which are very nice. You also have this, which is optional. It came in the box. I hate these, but it is what it is. I just added it on there. Coming to this side, you have your Shimano 7-speed. You got a half twist throttle with another locking grip on this side made for your palm. And the brakes are something I didn't talk about yet, but they are hydraulic on both sides and they feel fantastic, but they are no brand. There's no name on them whatsoever, so we're just gonna have to see how it is when we get out there and ride. Now, let me turn off these lights and let's see how this headlight looks. All right, so I got all the lights turned off. Now let's turn the headlight on. And to do that, you just have to hold this top button right here, and then it will have a little indicator right there in the middle on the top, and then it will show you your headlight. So the headlight doesn't look bad to me. I just feel like it's not very wide, but it has a very nice, cool tone to it. I like the fact that it looks kind of like a 5,000 Kelvin light color. I really like that. But we're just gonna see how it is at night when we take it to work one of these days. And you're gonna notice there is no rear light. I think that's a huge con to this bike, not having a rear light. They should have had something. Now they do give you a reflector that you guys can put on the back of the seat post, but that means you would actually have to move the seat post more up, put the reflector on, so you're gonna sit a little bit higher off the ground, and if you're very short, that's not gonna feel very comfortable. So just something to think about. Now let's get out there and go ride this bike and go see how it is, because we've been talking in here forever. All right, one thing I forgot to do is we gotta air these tires up. That's my bad. What are they at? 7.5 PSI. Oh yeah, we really need to get these things aired up. Just to give you an idea of what I'm kind of riding at. So 16 roughly, I'll probably pump it up just ever so slightly, give it a little hit. Okay, that's good. So we're probably at like 16 and a half, 17, somewhere in there. That gives it a little bit more of a comfortable ride, but at the same time, we want to get most of the range that we can get out of this bike too, instead of being too deflated. So it just really depends on your riding preference. If you're gonna go more off-road, air them down a little bit more. All right, so we're ready to roll. One thing I noticed this bike does not have right off the bat, you cannot go to pedal assist 0. And another thing too is when there's light shining directly on this, it is very hard to read this display. But yeah, I just really wish it had a 0 mode. I guess if you want to pedal this bike, you just have to turn it off, but then you won't know how fast you're going. But I feel like they should have had a 0 pedal assist mode on there so you can just pedal this bike like a normal bike. And now let's try to do our top speed run now that we have a full battery charge. I like to get that out of the way. 27. I feel like I got a cutoff right there. Like the bike didn't want to keep going. Yeah, like it cut off. It's kind of interesting. You know, 28 miles per hour. Okay, there we go. But I'm noticing a fluctuation of power, so it doesn't want to keep going faster and faster. But the bike feels like it wants to go faster, but it feels like something in the controller is kind of telling this bike, like, hey, no, like, slow down. It's limited to 28 miles per hour. And if you guys can see the display, you can see that it says our power on this side. So we're not even doing 100 watts, we're doing 96 watts. And then you can see when it jumps down to 30 watts, that's when the power cuts out. So it's like limiting how fast this bike can go. That's odd to me. I've never rode a bike that really did that. The only time I've ever noticed a bike do that is when you don't have it unlocked. But all the speed is unlocked in the settings. We can go as fast as this bike will go, and that's it. That's all we got. And keep in mind, this is exactly the first time I'm riding this bike. As soon as you guys see me recording this stuff, I have not rode this bike beforehand to get any type of judgment on it or any type of information. I'm literally telling you guys exactly how it is if you guys were to jump on this bike and how you feel about it. Now, it feels not that bumpy. It doesn't feel like super comfortable. The seat is kind of narrow. The seat's not my favorite, but the suspension seat post is doing okay. I do feel like the suspension post is like getting stuck. So like it will go down, but then pop up every so often. And what I mean by that is the simple fact that when I sit on it, I feel the seat post go down. When I hit a very big pothole, I can feel it like pop up, but then as soon as I'm done with the pothole, it goes right back down. But it's not like moving ever so slightly with all the little bumps. All right, so we're gonna have to do this test on this side. If you guys are new to the channel, I know I always pull over on that side, but there's a lot of kids walking. So we normally do a test to see how this bike is, like 0 to 25, 0 to 28, whatever the top speed on this bike is, which is 28 miles per hour. I don't know if we're gonna make it in the stretch because it is a very slow takeoff bike, but we're gonna try it right here and we're gonna use the throttle only. We're not gonna pedal. We're gonna see how it is. So 1, 2, 3, go. Highest pedal assist. So we're at 10, 15, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We're gonna run out of road. We're gonna run out of road. 27, almost 27. It's actually 26.6 is what I last saw on the display. So in that long stretch of road, we did not hit top speed. Doesn't mean the bike is not quick or anything like that. It's just not super fast, but it's nice and comfortable to ride. It's a very safe e-bike. You're gonna get very good range out of the 750 watt motor. And the fact that it's limiting my power up top to not go faster than 28 tells me that you're not gonna be wasting a lot of energy of this battery by hitting max speed the whole entire time, which is kind of a good thing, but also a bad thing. All right, so let's go take this thing off-road right now because that's what this thing is made for. Let's go check it out. Ooh, a little chain slap right there. All right. Okay, so this is where the seat post is coming in clutch right now because I can feel it moving a little tiny bit. I still feel it getting stuck. I still stand by that statement. But it's actually not that bad of a bike to go off-roading with. It's definitely better than half of the bikes I reviewed already. I would say this is probably like a 7.5 out of 10 going off-road, especially with not having suspension in the back. It's nice. I'll give it that. Mud? I'm not sure I want to go through all that. Nope. Oh man, we're going this way. All right, so I'm going to go this way. Man, why do they have this all blocked off? I'm going around it. Screw it. Yo. Hey, this is what this bike's made for, right? Let's go off-road. Oh God. Woo. Oh man. We should not be doing that. Oh, I know why they have this blocked off. There's bees. Last time they came through, there was hella bees. Oh, let me close my visor. I like the fact that this motor is very quiet as well. Woo! That dip right there, I definitely felt the suspension seat post working. Felt very nice. Oh, this is very bumpy right here. Holy crap. Some of those spots were rough, but I mean, I'm actually kind of impressed with this bike. Now, every time I stand on the bike, I'm on my tippy toes, so that's not ideal for me. This is a little bit of a taller bike to sit on. Like, it's doable. I just don't like when I get to intersections and I feel like I'm a motorcycle, like I'm barely standing, or I have to like lean over to put like one foot, like solid foot down while my other one's up. I'm not a big fan of that, but this is a pretty nice bike so far. So let's keep on trucking that way. Let's go test out these brakes after we get off this trail. That feels so crazy. Like, it feels nice and it feels weird at the same time having my seat move up and down. Woo! Oh, wow, that was a big bump. Now again, if you guys want a slightly more comfortable ride, all you guys have to do is just lower the PSI on these tires, because these are gonna be definitely a lot more comfortable if you air them down to like 12 or 13 or so. You could even go super low. I probably wouldn't go past like 8, but you guys could do it. All right, so before I do this braking test, I'm gonna start recording my top speed to make sure this top speed matches with GPS, just to make sure they're ideal. Most bikes lie, so I'm gonna reset this. My last top speed was 52. I think I was on the Super 73. All right, so I reset that, and let's see how it is. I'm going to record, put it in my pocket. We'll do these brake tests, and then we'll check out how fast this bike is actually going. All right, so I'm hitting max speed, 28 miles per hour. Well, let's hope that's right. We're gonna go right off here. We're gonna brake. 1, 2, 3, go. Woo! All right. I think we might have been a little bit better if I would have locked out the suspension, because the front really came down. So the suspension is working pretty good, I would say, but it wasn't the best brakes that I've had on a bike, because it just wanted to lock up completely and I wasn't trying to lock them up. So I was really trying to play with the brakes. But some of the other bikes we've done have been like right there. And I think we had a bike, I think right before that mark. So this is kind of in between that, but we'll run this back again. We'll come back this way and we'll try it one more time. All right, so we're at about 25. Let's hit the brakes now. Woo! All right, so that did a little bit better. Maybe we're actually breaking these brakes in right now. So that wasn't too bad. It's about like 4 bike lengths from that. So, I mean, I give the brakes a pass. I will say these are hands down better than any mechanical brakes that you're ever gonna get on an e-bike. So I'll give them that. They feel nice in the hands. One thing I'm noticing though on this display is that it is already like fogging up, like on the inside. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if you guys can even see that over camera. I'm trying to get like the best angle, but it's fogging up right here and it's fogging up right there. I don't know if that's because there's heat coming off of the screen onto the plate on the outside. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but just something I noticed. But anyways, moving on. Now that we did the brake test, let's try out the pedal assist. Let's see how that does, because we've been using the throttle the whole entire time for the last like 4 miles. So, all right, I'm pedaling. Ooh, that's a slow start. Definitely a slow start. All right, so the pedals have a very huge delay. So I'll do this test again, make sure I'm not holding the throttle at all. I don't want to make it seem like I'm rigging this, but here we go. Now the motor's on. And the motor is very slow to pick up speed. It's kind of weird. Let me do that again. I'll go a little slower. I'm gonna do it again, start pedaling. Motor's on. That's weird. I don't know. Something's on that car flapping. Oh, they're undercarriage. That is not safe. Oh, that was nice and smooth. That transition from the street to the dirt, absolutely insane. That was like crisp. And since this is an off-road bike, that means we got to come up this hill. We did it on the other bike. Oh my God. Whoa. Whee. Oh, that went up it like easy. I mean, I did have a good running start at it, but this bike is nice and comfortable with these big tires on here. Definitely comfortable than the other one. I hit that straight on, and that was not bad at all. All right, let's jump off the curb. Someone lost their pants, by the way. Just wanted to point that out. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So you guys see how that suspension is? It's nice. Gotta give it that. How's this camera angle looking? It's nice. I want to do a wheelie. No, the suspension, it doesn't travel as much as most bikes, but I mean, that's nice. It's doable. I give it that. Now, I didn't mention, but the front does not have a quick release for the front wheel. So if you ever do get a flat and you want to take the tire off really quick, you will have to have some, I think it's 14 or 15 millimeter wrenches or sockets to take it off. It's not a big deal. It's just, it's nicer and quicker when you have a quick release on the front, which I feel like most bikes like this should have a quick release. Now, I'm glad it wasn't muddy going through there, because it's been raining in California forever the last couple days. And without fenders on this bike, we would have got blasted. My jacket would have been drenched. It would have been nasty. Turn's very good. It's a nice turn right there. I like it. I like it. Feels very stable too. I don't feel any type of weird wobble or anything weird from the tires. They feel nice and planted, and it definitely handles very good. Now, can you guys see that those marks on the display? I don't know what that is. So here's one crazy thing is I've went 6 miles on this bike so far, and I haven't lost a battery bar yet. What type of range am I gonna get out of this bike? Now, I did watch some YouTube reviews, and they were saying that you can get roughly like 28 to 30 miles of range on this bike, which makes sense because it's not giving you a lot of power when you're at top speed. It's cutting your power. So I can see that. Now, another test we need to do is we need to go through these gears and see how everything shifts while I run over some glass. Damn, Fresno. All right, so I'm gonna pedal, even though it takes a slight delay to go. Come on, bike, go, go, go. Come on, you can do this. There we go. Okay, now we're getting the power. So I want to pedal so I can kind of nicely go through these gears and stuff like that and kind of check it out. All right, so we're on 7. We're on the highest one right now. And real quick, before I drop down, I will say that, yeah, I am ghost pedaling at about 27, 28 miles per hour. So it's not the best if you're like in the pedaling bikes and stuff like that. If I were to drop it down to roughly 24, 25, it still feels like I'm ghost pedaling, honestly. I feel like the chain ring up front would need to be ever so slightly bigger. But anyway, let's drop this down. Hey, there's some one-wheelers. So all the gears go through nice and firm. No complaints with it whatsoever. There's a reason why they put these same shifters on every single bike. They work, they do the job. All right, so real quick, getting up to speed, there, okay, right at about 19, 20 is when I'm ghost pedaling. It doesn't feel like I'm doing any type of work to the bike. I'm just moving the cranks to get the motor running. That's pretty much it. What's up, man? This guy's giving me a nod on this nice flat black e-bike. Gotta admit, this bike is very nice. And if you guys want to see more content on this bike, I will be taking it to work nighttime. We'll see how the headlight is. We can't see how the brake light is because that's one of the cons on this bike. It doesn't have a brake light, something I wish it did have. I would rather take the brake light over not putting fenders on this bike. But I'm trying to think, like, so if this bike is normally $2,100, that's not worth it whatsoever. But with it being like 1,300 bucks, that's worth it. But I still feel like at that price, it should have fenders, at least. If it didn't have a brake light, it should have had fenders. It should have had something. All right, let me head back to the house and give you my final thoughts, even though I said a lot already. All right, so my final thoughts on this bike are, is it worth it for $1,299? And then using my links down in the description will probably get you a slight better discount. Yes, it's worth that price. It is not worth the regular MSRP that it is for being over $2,000. $2,000 is a lot for a bike that has no tail light, no fenders, nothing. I will say there are some cons. If you are a very tall person, it's actually probably gonna be a great bike for you. But if you're a short person, this is not gonna be ideal. Like if you're probably under like 5'5", you are gonna have the hardest time sitting on this seat. You're gonna have to go down to your bike store and you're gonna have to change this out and you're gonna have to get rid of. One of the nicer features on this bike is having that adjustable seat post. But other than that, it's an okay bike. I mean, I didn't have any problems with it. I actually felt like it did better off-road than I thought it was gonna do. The suspension felt very good. I liked the display. We did have an issue with it looked like the screen burning in some spots, but after we turned the bike off, it went away. So I think it's some hot spots on the screen. Maybe your guys might not have that. I did notice that mine did get hit right in the center. It didn't crack the screen or anything like that, but it did leave a little mark on this bike. So maybe you guys won't have problems with your screen. I didn't notice anyone else complaining about it. The brakes felt good. When we did the first brake test, it was not the best, but once we did the second brake test, I noticed that the brakes were actually starting to embed themselves and we were actually getting them hot and they started working a lot better, especially for the rest of the trip. They were working phenomenally, even though they're no brand. But other than that, I mean, the motor's good. It's not very powerful, but it's gonna get you to and from. I feel like the power that this bike has is gonna give you some really good range. We did how many miles? 8 miles to be exact, and I have not went down a single battery bar. So what I'm thinking, what I'll do for the next video is we won't even charge this bike. I got 14-mile trip to go to work in the next video. We'll take it over there, take it back. That will give us a good amount of range, like 22 miles or so, and we'll see what our battery indicator will be at that point, and then we'll do that range test. So see you guys in the next one. Definitely check the links in the description. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace and love to all you guys. You guys are true MVPs. Later.